Open our hearts, free every soul. The fear inside, you must let it go. Oh, that monster, before it conquers you. Yeah, we all have demons, we fight every day. You get knocked down, but the bell hasn't rang, so keep going. Just stay focused when life seems hopeless. Before life passes you by, you must, like a bird with broken wings always. You've gotta reach for the stars. It might seem far. Ooh, don't stop. You gotta try. Oh, 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 you gotta try. Never stop dreaming, even awake. Nothing can stop you from winning this race, so keep going. Just stay focused. Yeah, I am the tiger, I am the pride. Every storm is with the rainbow in the sky. You are golden. If no one else notices, don't stop, keep going. Before life passes you by, you must, like a bird with broken wings always. You gotta reach for the stars. It might seem far. Ooh, don't stop. You gotta try. Oh, 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 you gotta try. Keep on trying every day. You gotta try. All you got to do is try. You gotta try. Oh, 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 you gotta try. You gotta try. All you got to do is try. You gotta try.
I think the biggest piece of advice I have for someone going through addiction or thinking about going to rehab is being honest with yourself. Don't be afraid to get help. I think that's the biggest stigma that we're trying to erase is don't be afraid to ask for help.
Hi, welcome back to ICAN. This year in 2026, we hope to provide you with a lot of information that will help with drug addiction, provide places to go, places to get help, and more. And to you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. It's great to be back. And again, thanks for being here today to join us for our series on mindful community, raising mental health awareness in Jefferson County. We are blessed to have our guest with us today, Vanessa Leaders, who is from the Jefferson County Health Department and Drug Free Coalition. We'll be asking Vanessa a series of questions regarding her work that she's been involved in over the many years that she's been doing this, about various things in Jefferson County in terms of opportunities and resources. So we look forward to having a great conversation today. And again, thanks for joining us.
Vanessa, can you tell us about your background and what led you into the current role you are in right now? I know we've asked you these questions before, but let's reiterate a bit because it's been a while.
Yeah, so I have my bachelor's degree in public health and psychology. Awesome. I had gotten it back in 2018 from Carroll University in Waukesha. And from there, I had rolled into my first job as a prevention specialist down in Iowa, where I worked for a nonprofit organization where we focus on substance misuse and mental health, specifically working with the youth and providing evidence-based resources and curriculums within the schools. From there, ended up kind of pivoting and working in Milwaukee for a couple of years as a community health worker, where I worked with severely mentally ill individuals, those who were battling addiction, and a lot of the homeless population. So getting them connected to whatever resources that they've needed. And then from there, I moved into more of the local government roles, where I've served as a community health educator, community health planner, and then now within my current role of being the community health development worker, I obviously oversee our Drug-Free Communities grant as well as our Jefferson County Drug-Free Coalition. So it's kind of a little bit of a path. I've done various levels in regards to having different facets of what the substance misuse and mental health field has obviously provided. So
now I understand why you're so good at what you do.
Well, I've been able to see some of the work that you've been doing, Vanessa, and first of all, thank you for your work. I mean, it is amazing how many hats you wear and how you're able to adjust and pivot when needed in the community for its needs. I mean, every day it's the same Vanessa that we see coming through in terms of your passion, in terms of your empathy for this community. So thank you for your consistency, because clearly that's what we need.
Well, thank you. That's very kind. I appreciate it.
What excites you about your current role and currently what you're doing right now as far as your responsibilities in the county?
Yes, so I would say what excites me the most about the work is that it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's an ever-changing field, so one day is the same, no one month is the same. So I appreciate kind of the ever-evolvingness, if you will, but then really I think what makes me enjoy the work as much as I do is truly the community partners that I get to work with, such as yourselves, and as well as like our coalition members. Truly, it obviously takes a whole community to come together in order to do this work. Having that passion and empathy behind it is not something that you can necessarily teach to somebody. It has to kind of be instilled in you. So being able to be in a room with like-minded individuals who share that same passion and empathy truly is what kind of drives me forward. And then some of the work that we've been doing for the coalition as of currently, which is a lot. I mean, we've been working with our school districts in regards to getting them to curate like sober parties, so to speak. So therefore getting youth involved of creating more of that sense of belongingness. But really what it is we want kids to have activities where like substances and mental health aren't the focus. Many of our community events unfortunately do have some form of alcohol in predominance of that focus. So we're trying to realize or have the kids realize that you can have fun without obviously using substances, and that doesn't have to be the norm.
Yeah.
So really we've been working with the schools a lot, and then of course we are looking at a bunch of other projects as far as community events coming up. So more to kind of come on that within the coming months.
Sure.
So
that's great.
What mental health resources are currently available in your communities you've worked in?
So they kind of vary, of course, depending on the community in which you work. But I will say the ones that I'm aware of and of course that we promote most often are the 988, which is the national suicide number, of course. But then we try to look at our local resources more than anything. So Human Services is the main provider, I would say, in Jefferson County for like substance misuse, mental health. However, we do try to partner with other outside entities because unfortunately Jefferson County, we don't have a lot. Like we don't have the detox, we don't have inpatient for mental health or substance misuse. We don't even have recovery housing for folks. So we obviously look at and try to lean on our neighboring counties such as like Dane, Madison, as well as Waukesha, Milwaukee. And we partner such as Shorewood Behavioral Health or Miramont Behavioral Health in regards to being able to take people obviously across county lines to get that help. Ideally, it's not ideal for these folks, right? I mean, you're taking them out of their environment, which yes, it may not be the best environment, but that may be where they're getting the most support. So we try to be conscious about that. We do try to do a lot of like crisis mitigation with our human services. They do crisis plans and so on and so forth. So for Jefferson County, that is kind of the bulk of where a lot of the resources are. And then of course we try to promote that as much as possible, whether it's social media platforms or if you're talking with somebody, so on and so forth.
Now with Jefferson, is there anything in the works for in the future to have some of those places in Jefferson?
I believe so. I obviously can't speak in too far retrospect with it because of course it's a little bit above my pay grade, if you will. But I do know like there has been acknowledgement and conversation that not having some of these resources, of course, is kind of detrimental in regards to helping our community members, our residents of Jefferson County to their fullest ability. So I do know, of course, we've looked at funding avenues and we'll see kind of what's to come. But of course, it's not going to be something that happens overnight. We all wish that we could snap our fingers and it would be there the next day. But it's definitely something that obviously leadership is very much aware of. So we'll see what's kind of to come within the next year. I know like what was huge this past year is we have Habitat for Humanity that's come in, and they are building houses or duplexes up in Watertown area, and I believe they were looking at Fort as well. So we've got that at least starting to trickle in. So been a long time coming, but we're at least starting to slowly see the effects kind of bleed into our county, which has been great. Of course, like I said, it's just not at the pace that we would like for it to be. So
Right.
Kind of like leading to my next question, before I get to that, you know, talking about events, right? Talking about programs that you specifically are developing with your team in Jefferson County. I just want to really emphasize to the community as a whole, attend these events. These are big things as far as opportunities to engage in resources, engage with peers, identify support units and other things that are out there in the community. These are very intentional by the way they're put together as far as the strategy behind everything that's put into it. So it's worthwhile to attend these things to identify like what's in the community, because that's one of the things that people have a struggle with reaching out for help is they don't know what resources are out there and they don't know what it's like to even ask for help, let alone get it, and what recovery is all about. So it's just kind of like putting your foot in the water, right, and kind of feeling the temperature and seeing the timing's right for you and stuff. So there's many strategies that we all come across in terms of various things. There's so many platforms that are out there now. It's kind of the advantage, somewhat disadvantage of technology is there's just so many different avenues out there as far as like resources and help. But in your role, what strategies do you specifically use to help out with the stigma when it comes to reducing the stigma around mental health?
So I'm probably going to echo a little bit of what you said as far as like those community events. Obviously, piggybacking off just to say like you don't know what you don't know. So therefore, yes, like how you don't know how to ask for help, or you don't know what resources are available to you to be able to even ask for help. So I think that having this series obviously is going to be the most beneficial for folks as you kind of break down like what are the different avenues they can go, because no one's journey is the same. So in regards to like different strategies and methods that we use to try to diminish the stigma, of course it's still an issue in our area, it's an issue still everywhere. I think we're becoming a little bit more socially acceptable with mental health versus substance misuse. However, I mean, obviously, like I said, the stigma is still there. So realistically, like you said, Christopher, going to these events, I think more often than not, a lot of parents or caregivers are afraid that if they come up to say like our table that says Jefferson County Drug-Free Coalition and they're talking with us, that they're immediately going to get lumped in and people are going to have some form of, you know, opinion on the matter, or, you know, kind of think that that family must have issues with substance misuse, whatever the case may be. When reality is no, you're just trying to gain as much awareness and education, and you know that's what we're there for. We want people to come and ask questions, be curious, by all means. I mean, just because you know, maybe you have a family member. Obviously, mental health and substance misuse affects almost all of us in some way, shape, or form, whether it's personally, a loved one, you know, family, friend, whatever the case may be. So really the community events, and then I also think like not tiptoeing around it. I know we've tried to do that for many years and it's really just prolonged, and obviously we've gotten worse with our mental health rates. So having that direct conversation. I know sometimes have to be strategic in how you name an event, because that may be deterring for folks, because again, they feel like they're getting slapped with a label. But so like, for example, we did a Knowledge is Power series, but we had specifically put underneath, like with substance misuse. Now, had we just did like a Knowledge is Power, or like we called it some type of health event, it would have probably been perceived differently, and maybe we would have had better attendance. But so it's kind of getting, I guess, strategic in that realm. But realistically, I think you can't beat having the true conversation. And it really boils down to a lot of with the parents, as well as, I mean, even our schools. That's been a lot of work that we've been doing with the coalition, is working with our school districts to bring in evidence-based curriculum, as well as just having these conversations with the kids, because if parents aren't doing it, the kids aren't getting this information. Yeah. But there's also that misconception of, if I talk to my child about it, that's going to spike that curiosity, and then they're going to go and try and do it. When in reality, that's not going to be the case. Social media, as you said, it's a blessing and a curse. I mean, if you're not talking about it with your child, they're getting it from somewhere, and rather have the parent be that safe space where the kids can come to and talk to and ask those questions, versus it be the falsified information that they're probably getting from social media. So yeah, that's, I could probably go on and on about different strategies to do, but really that's a lot of what we're trying to focus on when we talk about the substance misuse and mental health component of it. One
thing I noticed in your answer there was you said 4 times substance misuse. Language matters.
Yes.
So when people say substance abuse,
yep,
they are already becoming shameful of themselves, because clearly that seems like more like a label than anything, and people don't want to be associated with substance abuse.
Right.
So language does matter in terms of the way we do things. Another example is sometimes I can be out in the community, and by no intentionality, people mean this to us the wrong way, but they can say, wow, the weather in Wisconsin's bipolar. Mm-hmm. Again, if you're someone who's struggling with any symptoms when dealing with bipolar, when you hear these things, it really does shelter them in a way, and kind of like avoids them from getting the help that they need.
Absolutely.
So language does matter in the way that we communicate with each other and also with our community as a whole.
100%, I couldn't agree more. And to me, it's, you know, to me it's an everyday. I'm so used to it. I know kind of more the appropriateness of saying it, but that was a great example in regards to like with Wisconsin weather, right? I mean, people nonchalantly say it without truly understanding like the ramification of what that could lead to for someone that may be struggling with a mental health disorder or illness. So.
Can you share an example of how you built trust with the community around a sensitive mental health issue? And I guess what we were just talking about would be one of them.
Right, I would definitely say in regards to just the appropriate language being used, but also Christopher was a part of this last week. We had actually brought together some of the school districts, and we worked or are partnering with NAMI Wisconsin in regards to trying to bring a new program into the schools that does talk about like mental health, just how to address it, what is it, how to cope with it, how to help someone if like they don't know how to help themselves type of situation. And honestly, Chris, you can probably talk a little bit more actually if you want to explain more about that too. So don't feel like I have to take the limelight away, but.
Well, Ending the Silence is just a great program. It's an opportunity for people that lived experience those peer interactions to come into classrooms to educate students on really what is mental health all about and what's mental illness. Like, we all have mental health. Every human being has mental health on this planet, but not everyone has mental illness. So it's like identifying like, well, what does mental illness look like as far as the symptoms that we're experiencing, you know, especially at an adolescent age when they're in high school and they're still developing and they're going through many stages. Like, what does that look like in terms of like, obviously people struggling, and then how do we get the help? Like, how do we actually insert ourselves as a peer, as someone that's a friend, to actually try to encourage that individual to get the help that they need, and what does that look like? You know, teachers are there for obviously educational purposes, but also for support as well. So how would you reach out to a teacher, letting them know that a friend is struggling or isolating, or even if you're feeling like you're struggling, how it's okay to ask for help. Right. So it's a great opportunity to really go into the schools, really identify like, okay, what does the mental illness look like? But then again, what does support look like? Like, how can we get support? And then, of course, the life of recovery. what does that look like for obviously people that have mental illness, and then obviously getting the help they need, the treatments and stuff like that. Night and day is the best way to describe it, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it seems like when people are walking around with mental illness, it's just all a fog. They can't see what they are in terms of their path, obviously running into things more or less than anything and struggling and tripping. Whereas when you get the help you need, whether it's through therapy, whether it's through medications, whether it's various treatments, you identify like really quickly as far as like what are your coping skills, and then how can you actually centralize that nervous system the quickest. You know, unfortunately, the things that's happening a lot with people that are struggling with substance misuse problems is they're finding that the coping mechanism being, unfortunately, some kind of substance that is obviously not necessarily centralizing them in their nervous system, but obviously trying to mask or at least put away those things that they're not wanting to handle with, whether it's trauma, PTSD, or other some kind of thing in the past. So, but anyways, is Ending the Silence a great program? Yes, NAMI does a fantastic job with what it's doing in terms of partnering with various school districts throughout the state, but especially here in South Central Wisconsin with just really getting to schools and allowing them to give some supports. They even give a crisis card, like a little business card size for students to fill out. So on the back of it, you're going to have your top 3 support units. So just in case of a crisis, you can always pull out that crisis card for tools, resources, phone numbers. Yeah.
Absolutely.
What kind of actions do you get to get these kids interested in coming to these events?
Well, that's the beauty of it, is that we are, as they are doing these in the schools, the school districts are performing these during the school day. So they're actually part of usually like their health class, for example.
Okay.
And it can be like an hour and a half to 45 minutes. Usually it's about a 50-minute presentation where they come in, they do the presentation, they engage the students, yes, with candy. But it's in a good way. It's like they can encourage them to give obviously answers, suggestions, feedback. Really involve them a lot in terms of group participation as far as the classroom goes.
Yeah, and honestly, kind of to tie it all back and really to pinpoint back to the question of like, how do you bring that trust, and using the Ending the Silence as that example, you have to build that environment. You have to have that safe space in order for kids to feel like they can, you know, openly express or share maybe their own personal struggles. So, we talked about that empathy and passion, you know, bringing that to the forefront. And as we know, teachers, they have that passion and empathy. They see what these kids go through. They want to help in whatever way possible that they can. So therefore, you know, bringing in these resources such as with NAMI and Ending the Silence, it's helping us have those conversations, create that safe space, even strengthening the bonds between the students and the teachers to know that they can go to each other, you know, for assistance if need be. So, and I know that's more specifically in our school setting, but it kind of serves true in regards to the general community as well. I mean, like I mentioned, our Jefferson County Human Services is our primary provider. We do have a crisis unit that a lot of folks know that they can call. And then of course they can assist in whatever way possible. But I do think having that good experience with our professionals in this type of realm, if you will, with mental health and substance misuse is going to be critical, because as soon as they kind of have that one bad experience, they're not going to be as trusting. So it is really trying to just cultivate like that mutual respect and understanding, and like I said, not having that stigma as well. So
Yeah, see, with the Elks, I've noticed the hardest thing is trying to get into the school to get this information. And that's been really hard for us. So that's why I've been partnering with Christopher and with you, because that's the only way I could get my information in there.
Yep. Yeah, we've taken, since I started, it's been almost 3 years ago. And obviously COVID had its own, you know, restrictions and everything too. But I would definitely say within these almost 3 years, we have gained so much traction with the schools. And it takes that one individual that can be the champion in the school, that can take it to administration and obviously kind of break down that barrier. But I will say all of the communication with the districts that I've had have been great. Yes, there's some that we still struggle to try and get into, understandable, but it doesn't mean that it's an immediate no. Or if they say no, it's not a no, it's a no right now. It doesn't have to be forever. So, I mean, it can get discouraging at time when you kind of keep knocking and knocking at that door, but I think the best you can do is just letting them know that the resources are there. We're here to help, and you know, use us when you need us kind of situation. But like I said, we've had some very great school district partnership within probably these past 2 years in specific, I would say. So it's been a long process, but it's been cultivating amazing and positive change.
Well, and what I've noticed with the events that we've had, you can't reach the parents. You have to go through the kids to reach the parents. Which is really sad.
Right. Yeah, it's difficult. And I mean, like I said, Chris mentioned, go to these events, get that education. Feel free to reach out. I mean, you can call the health department, human services, you can call Shorewood, behavioral health, and, you know, ask these questions. Odds are we're all interconnected in some way, shape, or form, that like we can pass you off otherwise to who would maybe have the better answer or has a more local resource available that would be more beneficial.
And the best part about all of this is most of it's free.
Yeah, absolutely. Thankfully, I mean, Drug-Free Communities or Drug-Free Coalition, we've got a grant, thankfully, that has supported us. We're in currently year 7, and so we've got about 3 more years left of that grant. So we're trying to think of sustainability and how we can continue. Like I said, we've made such great impact and motion forward. I would hate to see that diminish as soon as like those funds go away, if you will. So we'll just always keep moving forward, and that's why we try to cultivate these relationships, because maybe where we lack, you know, Shorewood could jump in, or one of the school districts could actually jump in, whatever the case may be. So that's obviously, as you can tell, that's where my passion drives, is in regards to making sure we have that sustainability, because we're all trying to work towards the same goal of ensuring that everyone's connected to the resources that they need and the overall health and well-being of folks. So
that does a really good job actually answering my next question I had for you almost, but you know, I was going to ask you, like, how do you involve community leaders and influencers right now with your community initiatives? The more I've traveled throughout Jefferson County, it's like you got these pocket communities, I would call them, right? You know, you got your Fort Atkinson, Jefferson, Johnson's Creek, Lake Mills. Like, obviously you got these little communities, and then you have a lot of area in between without resources, obviously. So how does communication work with your initiatives throughout the county?
Yeah, so many of our organizations that obviously are either on our coalition or just in general within Jefferson, they service the whole county. So regardless, we're all kind of doing the services across the board versus it just be in like those little pockets. However, I understand what you're saying in regards to like how are we kind of meeting the need in our like more rural areas throughout the county even. And a lot of it is truly just that community partner communication, joining other coalitions, going to community events and introducing yourself and talking. The hardest part, I will say, that I've experienced throughout my, I think, 8 years within my career is when people leave, trying to find that replacement or like staying in contact so that, you know, you have still that contact at whether it's law enforcement, fire EMS, or hospital system. So I think really having developed that strong bond is what's gonna help propel forward. And like I said, our Drug-Free Communities Coalition is one of many coalitions that we have. We have a reducing recidivism. There's care navigation. We've got a wraparound committee. We've got our Voices for Hope for mental health awareness and, you know, suicide awareness. So I always say get involved. Those groups are free. They're open to anyone that is willing and wanting to get involved and help support the mission, vision, values for each of those. So with that, obviously, us knowing about what resources are available, that's how we can always get connected. I've said this kind of time and time again to coworkers of when I'm having a conversation with somebody, I'm immediately thinking, okay, like who can I get you connected with that would be beneficial for your services to like go along with like their services, or, you know, where you could maybe bridge that gap. So, but otherwise, a lot of it's, like I said, like-minded people and passionate people that want to do this. So, I mean, I've been very fortunate and grateful to obviously be connected, and Jefferson County is very much connected within their resources. I will give them that. I think people don't realize actually all the resources we do have available. And that's, again, where getting involved in these coalitions or attending these events is really where it's detrimental in order to getting that information.
How do you measure the success of a community mental health initiative?
Honestly, if one person, like if you're talking a community event and we have one person show up, I still count that as a success. I know from a data sense, people probably going to be like, but if you touch one person's life, as we've said kind of in this field all along, if you touch one person's life, that's better than nobody. So of course, with that being said, we do measure a lot of things via data collection. So we do a community health needs assessment every 3 years where, you know, we ask certain questions and do that data collection to hear directly from the community and seeing maybe where those gaps are, or understanding what needs are actually needing to be met yet in the community. So I would say a lot of, like, looking at the data, we've got the youth risk behavioral survey for students, and then of course we do work with like our medical examiner in regards to looking at the reports and everything. So there's various avenues, and of course I mean, it's not only public health, but in a lot of this work, data is what speaks the loudest. And I will say it seems like since COVID, we've really seen like people realize that data talks, like it actually portrays that picture. It's just being able to like actually present it to folks in a more understandable way, because what might make sense to us obviously isn't going to make sense to, you know, someone else necessarily. So I would say that's pretty like predominantly. Regardless, it, like I said, if you have one person show up, I still count it as a success. I mean, yes, it's a lot of time, energy that you put into it, but ultimately you have the best conversation, even if it was that one individual that comes to the event. So, of course, we hope we can always touch everyone that count, you know, multiple families and individuals, but we got to meet people where they're at. Not everyone's open, willing, able to want to come and be vulnerable in those situations. So it is kind of you're stuck between a rock and a hard place in some of those different ways.
Since my group has started working with you, have you seen from then to now that we've actually making a difference?
Yes, so with our data, and of course we also have to kind of think about the trends as well. You're thinking about COVID, ideally late 2019, 2020, and then I think it was 2021, 2022 before we were considered back to normal. So realistically now, the data is depicting still the effects of what COVID has brought through. So that's where I think people immediately think that, oh, if you're doing all this effort, like we should see an immediate drop the next year within that data. And unfortunately, that's not how it works. It does take stagnant time, which isn't ideal for people in our field, because we do want to see that drastic change. We want, you know, folks to realize that the work that we're doing is important and it's making an impact. But I would say like it's kind of varied depending. Of course, we know mental health rates, especially in our youth. I mean, it's not only youth, it's honestly everybody, has really skyrocketed in regards to what the isolation did to folks. And maybe it is lack of resources, because there's a lot of providers that are no longer going into the mental health pathways for, you know, professions. So ultimately, I would say, yes, we've seen some, of course, like it's not going to be the drastic immediate, but even from a state sense altogether, we are seeing a decline, like whether that's the tobacco rates or alcohol rates, whatever it may be. So it's kind of hard to say. It's always going to fluctuate, but I will say we've been still on like a steady decline, which has been great, even if it's like 0.3%.
Yeah.
I mean, it's better than nothing.
Right,
so
right.
That's a long answer to your question.
No, that's okay.
So in Wisconsin, 72 counties, obviously there's a lot of different other programs going on in different counties. What does that look like for Jefferson County? Because you mentioned obviously Milwaukee, Waukesha, and Dane. Do you in your role really communicate with other counties in terms of their programming? Because there's clearly different populations in every different county when it comes to genders, ethnicity, ages. How does that look like in your role right now in terms of communication with other counties?
Yeah, so definitely work with other counties. And often with Jefferson being rural, we do try to seek out those rural counties that kind of relate to maybe the barriers that we're seeing. Because often when we're going to conferences or trainings, it's the larger cities, the urban areas that are talking about the great success they've had, which is great, but I mean, for us small counties, it's like we don't have the funds, we don't have the population base. When you're submitting the data, it doesn't look like we have as big of an issue because our population base isn't that big. So ultimately, I am a part of like different state groups. So like we have our overdose fatality review group, which we work with the Medical College of Wisconsin, which works with the Department of Health and Human Services. We do a Wisconsin WINS, which is tobacco compliance checks. So then we work with the state, which of course then all county representatives that are doing that programming come together. For our Drug-Free Communities grant, now this is a national grant to where it's not just Wisconsin folks that obviously are on the call. You kind of have from all over to, you know, rural Alabama and Virginia to California and, you know, so on and so forth. So, I mean, that's a broader scope, but ultimately that is the best thing I would say within these positions and in our jobs is it's easy to get connected to somebody regardless. So like our Vive 18, I know Winnebago, they were kind of like the first ones to get that program implemented or kind of piloted, if you will. And then it was just reaching out to them and kind of getting more information like, hey, how have you been doing this? Or what did you find difficult? And I mean, we're here to not recreate the wheel. We want to obviously help each other versus like spin our wheels in the mud, so to speak. So honestly, a lot of it's just reaching out, getting connected. Thankfully, a lot of these coalition groups is kind of a starting point of where you can go. But yes, we definitely try to look at, even when we go to conferences, they have different sections within the app that actually is like rural counties get together or everyone in the state of Wisconsin get together for a dinner. So really that networking at conferences and trainings is huge. But realistically, like I get connected to multiple people, whether it's, you know, yourself and someone in the school district or Chris with other people in the Elks Lodge. So I mean, it's really, tapping into your community partners that you already have that can make that connection or know about it. So yeah, we're all interconnected in one way, shape, or form.
We are.
So.
That's great.
How do you document and report mental health related activities in the community?
So I will say from a public health lens, as far as documentation goes, if anything, we take the data from what the state provides.
Okay.
If anything, that is probably more human services that would have more local data and relevance to Jefferson County. However, talking about the YRBS, the Youth Risk Behavioral Survey with their youth, that's something that, of course, we can look at as well and get the data. With that, we can also ask our partnering entities, Shorewood, Miramont, whomever we kind of utilize of like, you know, how many Jefferson County residents are you seeing come across county lines, so on and so forth. So there are different ways of looking and getting the data. It's kind of just, you have to narrow in and scope in what exactly you're looking for, if you will. So, and then from there with trying to project that data to, you know, individuals through the county to understand kind of where the issue's at. This is where I had previously talked about our community health needs assessment. And with that, we do try to project those data points that we have. And what we do is called a data walk, where we have it kind of posted, say, around the library. And we just have general community members like walk through and like read the different statistics. And then we try to gain their insight on it. Like, do you think that that's accurate? Or like, do you have a follow-up question to maybe one of the data points? So that's definitely how we try to get it out. We also do like annual reports, like our community health improvement plan, where we have our priority focus areas, So it's kind of, variant in regards to it, but to really narrow in on your question, it's human services definitely has a lot more of the data.
Okay.
However, there are so many different platforms in which you can get it, but we're fortunate enough to have that partnership that if we were needing it to apply for a grant, say for additional programming or what have you, we have that ability to work cohesively with them on it. So
Community engagement can be very challenging, right? I mean, it's like we're in information overload right now with everything we have at our disposal, usually in our hand, usually with our phones. But, you know, as far as, like you said, like measuring success, right? Like what indicators do you see that measuring success in the programs that you're currently engaged in right now? And then a follow-up question I have for that as well is how long do you give a program until it's like, okay, it's time to pivot? Because usually it doesn't take weeks for communities to get engaged. It usually takes years until they're like fully engulfed in like, okay, this is what Jefferson County is doing right now.
So you might have to repeat the first part of the question.
Well, in looking at indicators, like
indicators.
what do you look at in terms of like, where do you see a program like succeeding, and then when do you gotta like kind of take it apart, maybe reduce some things?
Yeah, so this kind of will go back to how I mentioned, like, you don't want to recreate the wheel. So odds are we're going to use some type of programming that's already out there, that's evidence-based and proven. And as we mentioned early on in the conversation, everyone's journey with mental health substance misuse is going to be totally different. So ultimately, as far as like getting those indicators of whether it's successful or not, of course, I mean, yes, you can measure the participation, like how involved is the individual versus like, do they kind of fall by the wayside, or what is, like I said before, the recidivism rate to where they graduate from that program, but then it's not even a couple months later and we see them back. So I would say it's probably going to be variant depending on what programming and I guess what the overarching goal is for that. But in my mind, I would say you at least have to give it at least a year, because odds are, like I said, for one to get like equitable data and viable data, you're going to want like a decent measurable time to do that. But then it's also looking at, like I said, there may be people that are obviously successful with it. So maybe it's not necessarily that like you're pivoting to move entirely away from that program. Maybe you're doing a tack onto it, or, you know, maybe another community department or partner has like another entity or another like curriculum that you can tack onto it, whatever the case may be. So I mean, even a year probably is very minimal, I would say, as far as like giving it a chance. But of course, it all comes down to that patient or client as well, of like I said, their involvedness, but their willingness to work with you on it. And again, that comes with the trust that you have individually with your partners. But ultimately, they have to be willing and wanting to work at it just as much as you do. And sometimes it's them that has to decide if further treatment's needed. So obviously, we from professional stance can say, okay, I can tell you need X, Y, and Z. But if they've got other things going on in their life, to them, they're going to want to address that crisis first before they truly address, like, say, the mental health or substance misuse needs. So again, it's difficult to give like a for sure answer on that, but I definitely would say in regards to at least give a year to get that viable data and then assess from there. So I'll just say from the coalition standpoint, we have our strategic prevention framework. So it's the flower that talks about like the assessment, the planning, the implementation, evaluation. So it's kind of like an ever evolving effect. And it's going to depend, because in our situation with working with the schools, every school operates a little bit differently. So I think having that initial conversation with them up front to see what the needs are, what their capacity is, what it is they're looking for, that's going to give you a better sense as well versus just assuming, because I think that's where we tend to kind of miss the 8 ball, if you will, as far as, oh, this is a great program, let's do it, it's going to help everybody, or like another county or states had so much success, not really looking and taking into consideration. Maybe it's doing a focus group with clients that might be able to, you do like a pilot and presentation telling them about it and get their feedback. So long story short, I know that's a very long-winded, but I mean, there are different ways that you can kind of go about it if you really want it to be effective. So
how do you ensure mental health programs remain sustainable after initial funding ends? Do you have a plan B?
That's always the great question, right? I mean, obviously we always hope to have additional funding kind of streams coming in, but that's then where relaying back to those successful partnerships really comes into place. So I mean, with us, it may be where you work with human services and they utilize their budget to be able to sustain a curriculum or a class or peer recovery services, whatever that looks like. And I mean, that's really all you can do, because unfortunately, as everything going on federally right now, with funding, one minute it's getting revoked and then it's rescinded, and you know, it's just, so we're in a very unknown time. So this question kind of is pertinent to where we're sitting right now, as far as are we going to have funding? Like, it sounds like most things are moving along and should be okay for 2026. But before you know it, it's going to be September and we're going to be talking about this all over again. So you can't just assume, right? So I definitely think honing in on those key partnerships is what's going to be crucial in developing like a sustainability plan. That's definitely something that we're even thinking 3 years in advance for the coalition, because this lump sum of money, you know, you've got staff under it, you've got so many different projects and supports. So what can we best do, obviously, to carry this out? Maybe it is you have to pivot and you can't do as much as like what you do with funding, but you can still maybe do enough to where you still make that impact with folks. So it is partnering, say, with local businesses or grocery stores or whatever the case may be, to ask for those donations. We're very fortunate that we've got a community that does like to come together and they're willing to donate. You know, sometimes they'll be willing to donate some type of funding, or they're willing to donate some type of like material supply items. So I always say that that's another option that you can kind of go but yeah, having the partnerships is really what's key in that.
That's great. This has been great talking with you, Vanessa. I always enjoy our conversations. You know, those are the questions we had for today's time with you. I really appreciate you being here. Appreciate the audience for watching us as well. You know, Chris and I will be doing this for the next 11 months or so with some other series regarding various community partners, obviously in Jefferson County, in terms of mental health awareness. I mean, that's really what it is. As Vanessa has mentioned several times throughout her conversation with us, it's collaboration is the key thing. It's all about, you know, partnerships that we have formed in terms of guiding people along the journeys that they're on, offering them the resources and the tools they need for support and recovery. But bigger picture is to continue on having these conversations. Absolutely. And definitely reaching out for help. As Vanessa has mentioned, you always can call Jefferson County Health Services anytime in terms of identifying if you need any assistance with identifying resources. 988, again, another great number to reach out for resources as well.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, thank you, both of you, for being here today. Please come back and join us at our next show, which will be hopefully next month, sometime towards the end of the month. And as always, we try to help get the information you need, and we just want you to know that we care. And like they both said, when they have events that are on mental health, addiction, or whatever, 9 times out of 10, these events are free. Attend them, get the information, because knowledge is power. It's more than power. It gives you the control of your life. So we will see you next time. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.